it'll probably be decades before we understand his full position, which is very great anyway, very significant. And the real issue is Putin an aberration which will last perhaps beyond Putin's lifetime, but not by any means forever? And will we see a quasi-democratic Russia, or are we going to get generations of Putinism?
What was it about Gorbachev, though, that in the 1980s, when Thatcher said that she could do business with him, his changes when it comes to reform and to restructuring the USSR, why did that all come about? Why was that? Why was it him, and why did it happen in the 1980s?
Well, it's cometh the hour, cometh the man, and of course everybody is determined, everybody's character is conditioned by their experiences as young people and indeed their parents. It was the legacy of the war. The war was starting to fade, and of course the war is Russia. The Second World War is Russia. That is the Russian soul, for good or ill. He was, however, of that generation where that was starting to dilute. There wasn't any direct experience as an adult. And he saw, long enough, the decline from the 70s, when they really got a kickstart and a boost for 10 years from the oil crisis, and their revenues went up, but the system wasn't working. So cometh the hour, cometh the man. He was the generation, and Andropov saw that this was the man who might be the man to solve it. In
saying that, many people have been remarking today, haven't they, that he also, with the changes in the 1980s, didn't necessarily want to bring down the USSR and create the Russian Federation, but in the end, that's what happens.
Yes, and of course, this is the great alibi that Putin uses to justify what he's doing now, and the hardliners, that it was an enforced system, and if you liberate it, it's perhaps going to collapse. That there is a grain of truth. I saw the end of the Soviet Union on board a Soviet warship in Greece in 1983, when I was staggered at the national divide between the Slavic and non-Slavic peoples. I didn't realize this was going to happen, but I saw it then, and yes, it just got out of control, but nobody has a crystal ball.
Interesting, though, isn't it, that you talk about where we are at the moment with President Putin being an aberration. Many would say, though, if you look at the history of Russia, actually the aberration was the attempt at democracy in the 1990s under President Yeltsin. Very, very badly handled, it must be said. There is a feeling that Russia is a country, the argument we made, that needs a strong leader, and that's ultimately where it's always going to end up.
Yeah, well, where do you draw the line? You can have a strong leader, and we've seen this in the past. I mean, indeed, to an extent, we saw it in China under Mao Zedong. China was very rigid, but was too weak to expand outside its borders. I think there's an awful lot in that. Where do you draw the line? Strength, but not fear. Putin has gone way over, but you're spot on. The Yeltsin years were very badly handled, and also there's an element of blame from the West. There were too many whiz kids came in and didn't realize from the West how hard this is going to be.